you have seen this very discreet, extremely well-funded campaign to try to derail the negotiation and try to derail the deal. And, there's this Time article that came out yesterday. A friend sent it to me. It's like worth reading because it lists a bunch of people who have quite literally been paid by a former Trump campaign person who was himself paid by certain elements within the Israeli government. And those people are attacking me viciously for quite literally trying to accomplish the negotiation objective that the president set for the country. So
what is their position? Like, they're attacking you how?
Oh, it's social media posts. It's, they're leaking to reporters. They're attacking me obsessively, saying that we should not be negotiating with Iran. We should just keep the military campaign going indefinitely. And that is their explicit position. And coming after me saying that, people have come after me and say that I'm influenced by Qatar, that I'm influenced by foreign governments, that, I take my marching orders from Tucker Carlson. And there's just so much bullshit out there when what I'm actually trying to do is accomplish what the President of the United States told me to accomplish, which is a settlement of this that accomplishes our objectives. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. We have the free flow of oil and gas. And like, I should be clear, I don't actually mind. I don't mind that let's say certain elements of the Israeli government want to criticize the deal or have disagreements about the deal. I don't even mind an effort to try to influence, foreign governments try to influence the United States all the time. Israel does it. Other countries do it. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. What bothers me is actually when Americans meaning American leadership, allows that influence to affect their judgment and to affect what they are advocating for. That's what really bothers me. People are always going to try to influence the United States of America, whether they're allies of ours or whether they're enemies of ours. But again, when I open up the pages of Time magazine and I see that there's a literal foreign influence campaign being funded to tank the very deal that I was pursuing, and oh, by the way, many of the people who were receiving that money were actually attacking me in completely dishonest ways, my response to that is, well, go to hell. I'm going to do what I have to do for the American people. I represent Americans first.
This is a guy that did not want this war in the first place. He was actually, and I know this for a fact, okay, some of you say, he didn't want it. You don't even know. He was a real pain in the ass. There were screaming matches inside Trump's Oval Office with JD Vance. And a lot of people that are very close to President Trump, the inner circle, which you guys don't even know of who those people are. I do. They don't like him. They don't like him. And I don't like him. Okay? So that little back and forth with Joe Rogan about Israeli influencers and money, and they're trying to derail what he's trying to accomplish, and I don't buy any of it. This is a guy that did not want this war in the first place, that no matter what he says publicly, is not a big fan of Israel or Netanyahu, which is fine. That seems to be the growing trend these days. But it doesn't work with me. So I'm interested to hear from Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, what he thinks. So with that said, Richard, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. What do you think of J.D. Vance?
I think that statement, what's really irksome about it is the deal fell apart because of Iran, right? Iran was supposed to...
Wait, stop right there. Stop right there. Rich Lowry just made all the sense in the world. While J.D. Vance is trying to blame Israel and Israel influencers and money, the reason why the deal fell apart was because of Iran. You just said it, Rich. That's where you should be really annoyed with J.D. Vance.
Yeah, the agreement said it was ambiguous, and it clearly gave implicit control of the Strait to Iran, which was a very bad thing. One of the reasons it was a terrible deal to begin with. But they were supposed to use their best efforts to assure a safe passage in the Strait, and it's just not consistent with that agreement if you're shooting at tankers and killing people, which they have been, over the last week or so. So that's what tanked it. And it's true, there is a pro-Israel influence campaign run by a former Trump guy, Brad Parscale. But Parscale swears, I don't know, but swears that he didn't use these guys to try to undermine the MOU. And certainly everyone I know, I saw on X or I talked to or I saw on TV, including you, were sincerely appalled by the deal and have been proved out. So why are you going out of your way to criticize all those people rather than the Iranians?
Right. And the truth is, well, yes, Pascal exists. The pro-Israel side does exist. There's also an anti-Israel side.
Of course.
Why are you just pointing out the pro-Israel side? Yep. There's an anti-Israel side, JD, which includes your good buddy Tucker Carlson, which have been in Trump's ears in the last couple of months, that said, don't do this from the very beginning.
Yeah, so he would never in a million years, JD, say, oh, yeah, Tucker's been saying these insane things, that Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk to intimidate the President of the United States into this war with Iran. No one should suggest my good friend Donald Trump is scared of anyone. He'll never do that. He'll never do that, right, because he's still friends with Tucker and wants that part of the coalition, that part of the right, to be part of his coalition.
You know, you talk about the pro-Israel stuff. The president is going to speak tonight at 9 o'clock. What about, Lowry, the 100 House Democrats that voted yesterday, no shock here, to cut aid to Israel? What about that?
Well, that's the way the wind is blowing. And look, if you look at Ro Khanna and what he did in Israel, you know, this is a guy who wanted to be a moderate 2 or 3 years ago. Now wants to be, you know, a fervent anti-Zionist, and he's a hypocrite and cynic. But it shows you're winning the debate when the hypocrites and cynics are coming your way, and they're going the anti-Israel way. So that's a very bad thing. And this is going to be. It's always been a debate. It's going to be even a hotter one between the left and the right, and within the right.
Yeah, because the problem is the left is completely, for the most part, I should say, anti-Israel, anti-Zionist. They go together, despite what the people will try to convince you. They go together. But now you got people on the right, too. So it looks, it looks like a very, very tough fight for Bibi and Israel. And all they're doing, and you know this, Rich, this little country, all these other Arab countries want to wipe them out. All these European countries would love to see them wiped out. And now you've got a lot of Americans who wouldn't mind seeing the same thing. And all Bibi is trying to do is survive in a world where all these morons here in the United States, because they want to, they're not even stupid, a lot of them, because they want to, are buying all the propaganda that started October the 8th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you got to say, unfortunately, a key part of the Hamas strategy worked, right? They wanted Israel to lash back, which any society would have, and a lot of civilians to die in a war, large part because Hamas hides among civilians, and to say, look how terrible Israel is. And it's worked. You know, it didn't work in the initial couple days, but we talked about this. How long would it take Biden to turn against Israel, right? It wasn't very long, and he was being driven by the left,
right,
which instantly turned against Israel. So no society would put up with what – if you look at Hezbollah, you know, a lot of people, they're invading Lebanon. They're only invading in Lebanon because Hezbollah is rocketing them, right? If they're a terror force in Michigan rocketing nice, pleasant Canada would invade Michigan to stop it.
Right.
No one else would put up with it. And there's this vast double standard where no other conflict in the world supposedly matters. It's all about Israel, and every time there's a shooting war with a terrorist group, Israel's to blame. It's perverse.
They blame Israel for everything. I mean, I saw some guy do some funny bit, some video bit a couple days ago where he just brought up a whole bunch of the world's problems, and he's like, Israel, and he was being funny. But the truth is, at this point, people are so deranged and so sick, and a lot of them are so hateful, Tucker included, they find a way to blame Israel for everything.
Yeah, of course. And for the left, it's because they now consider Israel a white society. Ro Khanna went over there and said, I never felt brown before until I was on the West Bank. Whereas, you know, more than half of Israeli Jewish population in Israel, they're from the Middle East or North Africa, not people that we would consider white. You know,
and by the way, the majority of the West Bank, because people don't know this, I don't call it the West Bank, I call it Judea and Samaria. That's where you get the term Jew from, okay? It's Judea and Samaria, not the West Bank. But most of those people, the overwhelming majority, are Palestinians, not Israelis.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Yeah, and then 20% of the Israeli population are Arabs, and they have the right to vote. They have justices on the Supreme Court. 20% of the Israeli population, 20% of the Israeli doctors are Arab. Half the pharmacists, 20% of the college students, they fully participate in Israeli society and arguably are the freest Arabs in the Middle East, the ones living in Israel, and we're supposed to believe it's an apartheid society. Again, it's just perverse.
Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review. So, Richard, when you started on this show many years ago, it was widely known that you were really, really good friends with one John Bolton. I don't want the FBI coming to your house, okay? But Bernie used to say to me, your friend Rich, he's a big war hawk. I go, he is? I don't even know. And we lost a guy last week that the left, again, describe as a warmonger. That's all he was. Not because, oh my God, what a horrible person. He stood up for the victims. Israel are the victims, you dumb bastards. Ukraine are the victims, you dumb bastards. The Taiwanese are the victims, you dumb bastards. And that's who Lindsey Graham stood up for. So smart people like me go, oh my God, what a horrible loss. But the left goes, thank God another warmonger is dead. Who's right?
Well, he was an interventionist to a fault, I would say, even too interventionist for me at times, but very sincere in what he believed, largely correct, stalwart friend of Israel and Ukraine, our embattled allies, and hated tyrants of all kinds. And he made the calculation, which I think proved out and was the correct one. I'm not a Donald Trump guy. In 2015 or 2016, he's controls the Republican Party and is probably going to win the presidency. I need to be friends with that guy, and I need to influence him. And Lindsey did it quite effectively, won more internal battles with the JD Vance types in the Trump years than he was entitled to, and did a fantastic job. And this was a guy, he loved the game. He loved being on TV. He loved making arguments. He loved maneuvering to try to advance the ball, for his point of view, whether it was influencing Trump or his fellow senators behind closed doors. Just a tremendous senator, highly effective, and no other senators enjoyed the job more than Lindsey Graham has.
Last question. Joe Rogan also brought up Epstein with JD Vance yesterday, and Vance said, listen, CIA and Mossad, I think he could have been both. Because Rogan started by saying, most people think he was Mossad. All right. Why do you think, honestly, above and beyond the people out there that actually care, which I think are the minority, I really do, that actually care about the victims, why do you think, as MS now discusses Epstein right now, why do you think that it's still brought up almost every day, especially on the liberal channels? Why is that?
Well, they used to dismiss all this as right-wing conspiracy theories until the light bulb went off sometime last year. No, actually, this is really a useful tool against Trump and to divide the right. So they've been obsessed with it ever since. Speaking of Ro Khanna, he clearly made this turn just when he realized he never talked about it before until he realized it was a tool.
Do you know who's sitting on MS Now right now being interviewed about the Epstein files?
Ro Khanna?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
There you go. So, look, if there's evidence that he was a Mossad agent, JD Vance needs to go get it and release it right now. I do not think that's the case. It would make no sense to me that Israel would take the enormous risk of running a pedophile agent in the United States that would totally blow up.
Well, they go back. I brought this up to Noam earlier. What they go back to is his partner, Ghislaine Maxwell. Her father, Robert Maxwell, is buried in the very prestigious Mount of Olives Cemetery, which overlooks the Western Wall, and nobody can figure out why Robert Maxwell is buried there. So they're making this leap that if Ghislaine Maxwell's father is buried in this very prestigious Israeli cemetery, then Epstein must have been Mossad.
Yeah, so but obviously that's a logical leap. There's no connection there, and obviously her dad was a Mossad agent or had a connection with Mossad, but no one who's testified about this, Ghislaine, when she talked to, what's his name, Todd Blanche, several months ago last year, no indications. Alan Dershowitz, who's pro-Israel, but is not a liar, no indication. So again, it would have been an enormous risk, and if Mossad wants to if there's someone who has a problem with young women that Mossad wants to influence or get after, they can do it directly. You send the young girl to a bar to pick the guy up, and then you have a camera in the hotel room or whatever. You don't need Epstein to do it. So it's just a fantasy, and part of it, not all of it, but part of it is people who just want to believe Jews control the world for their nefarious ends.
It's true. It is so disgusting. Please, Rich Lowry, on the way out, because I believe you more than anybody. I trust you. Please tell me that Marco Rubio is going to be my nominee in 2000.
No, I was thinking when we came into the segment, Sid, you're going to end up voting for JD Vance.
I'm not going to have a choice. I'm still going to vote for JD Vance over a Democrat, but I don't want JD Vance. I'll take Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz out of JD Vance.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a race. People will run against him, and these races always get competitive at some point, but he's a prohibitive favorite, I have to say.
You don't think Marco Rubio can beat him?
I think he could. I don't think he's going to run.
Either do I. But why don't you think he's going to run?
He's got a fantastic job. He's still young, and he has a better sense of the inside dynamic between Trump and Vance than we do. And if he, sensing, a major rupture on the way, maybe he would run. But I don't think he's going to run if he thinks Trump's going to be in Vance's camp.
I think you nailed it. And I think JD will get that from Trump. Rich Lowry, as always, you're brilliant. You're great. I love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, Rich. Rich Lowry, the editor right there of the National Review, one of our great weekly guests. Rich Lowry does a fantastic job.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?